Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramon, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Pretty fired up to have you join us today. We're going to be talking SWAG. I'm going to let you spell that out, but I'm excited because I think it's a great way to market your business. It's a missing art that I don't see enough of. We dedicated this podcast to exploring the idea of that servant's heart, making an impact and change in your business and your life. My guests are going to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you on how to do that. How to make people first. We were talking about before the show. His superpower is showing up and people. How many of you can say that? That's why I'm excited to have him on. Also want to thank my sponsor, Pantheon, who's building this thought leader platform with these very successful business owners. You can join the journey with them, grow your business, and then make an impact and change in the world. For more information on that, just reach out to me or go in the show notes and the link will be there. Impact and change. How'd you like somebody walking around with your business every day? Dude, you go to church. I just saw it happen. Somebody's wearing a shirt with a company's logo on, a friend of mine's. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. That's what we're going to talk about today and how that can be a servant's heart in so many ways. So welcome to our show, Jay. Welcome, my friend.
Steve, thanks. Great to be here.
Why is swag so important?
Why is swag? Well, I mean, it's first off, it's the most effective cost-wise for getting your brand name in front of people over a long period of time. Tons of studies out there that different items such as, you think, well, why do banks have pens, or why does every company do a pen? Nobody wants a pen. I mean, look in your drawer and look how many have logos on them. The cost per impression of a pen is less than a penny for every time somebody sees it. So the same is true when you factor in t-shirts or hoodies or other apparel items that have your logo on it. But you got to do those things right. So if you don't do them right, the cost is exponential. And if you do swag wrong, it's the cost is 100% cost, right? It's money thrown down the drain. So, I urge people to consult with somebody, consult with themselves. And by heavens, I mean, by all means, don't think that because you like something, everybody is going to like the same thing. You need to be open-minded when you consider swag. So it's cost effective is the reason why. And, I'd say the other reason's ego, right? You start a brand from nothing and you want to see it on apparel. You want to give it out to your friends and that feels good.
I laugh because I looked down when you said that and there's a pad of paper, the paper pad where and it's got the realtor's picture on it in his name. I'm like, look at him. It just happened right in front of me. It showed up. And that's interesting that you say that. You go somewhere, and if I look at my drawer, I'm sure there's 5 pins with different names because I'll grab every pin. Hey, it's free. Talk about the free aspect from a servant's heart, which I really love, with swag.
Well, yeah, I mean, the free aspect is you're giving something to somebody. I mean, it should be special. It should feel like a gift. It should be useful. It should be fun. I'm a big fan when I talk to, first off, you can't program a client's swag unless you know what the event that they're using the swag for is, right? So I always like to find as much information out as possible with my clients, and fun, useful. But sometimes you buy for kids, right? I mean, if you're talking about a conference where it's mostly 30 to 50-year-olds, and if you've ever been on a plane and you had to leave your kids parents go shopping at conferences for swag that they can bring home to their kids. So if you got to be really intentional and thoughtful as to what you give away, and try to think about what the purpose of it is meant to do. You see a lot of times where folks will try to buy something in the mid-price range that's meant to replace or something you might buy yourself. Like nobody's replacing their Apple earpods with $17 earpods you give them. So, nobody's replacing their Ray-Ban with $4.99 sunglasses you give them. So you have to know the intent of what you're buying and what it's potentially going to be used for to make good, sound purchasing decisions in the swag world.
And that's a great secret sauce that you have there. The consultation of, hey, Steve, what are you doing with it? Here's some suggestions for you. Because a lot of people don't know what they can really do with swag, right?
Well, the biggest thing I advise folks is to get 3 or 4 or 5 different items. And, instead of getting 1,000 of one thing, get 200 of 5 different things, put them all out on the table. If one's a little nicer and maybe meant for your clients or more engaged, put it underneath the table, give it to people after they engage with you. But it's sometimes, you don't know what bait is going to work. And and if you're at a conference where you're asking, or a trade show where you want people to stop and talk to you, and it's a sales driven mission, use 4 or 5 different pieces of swag that are going to appeal to 4 or 5 different types of people who, the only object is to get them to slow down. And if you have the same journal book that 3 other people have, or if you have the same koozie that 4 other people have, they're not going to slow down. And you got to get them to slow down, because you have to engage them. And swag helps do that.
I love being a podcast host. You just taught me something I didn't even think about. See, audience, I hope you learned that too. I just learned, because I've used swag before.
What aspect didn't you think about?
The 4 or 5 items on your table, not just having, because be honest, swag companies will come to me and go, hey, put this item out. It'll be great. One item, and I'd buy a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't give them all away. I like the idea of being a variety, because there's different people walking in.
If you ship items home from a trade show, I mean, everybody ships items home, but if you ship a preponderance of the items that you bought home from a trade show, you did it wrong.
Gotcha.
And I hear people talk all the time. They're like, well, our closet's full. If your closet's full, that's a mistake. Your closet shouldn't be full. People should want what you have. You should almost be, when I just did a show for my own company in stores, and we do these little rubber duckies, and again, we do 7 or 8 items, but the rubber duckies, I didn't have any left. And there were other items that went like hotcakes. And then, I've also thrown items away because I felt like when I got them, they didn't represent my brand, and I didn't want to, and this is with my brand, my money. And I've just tossed them straight out because they just didn't represent what I wanted to represent. So, I think again, everything needs to be intentional and thoughtful, and hard to do that online. It's the online companies are really sophisticated. They feed you the items that give them the best margin. They feed you the items that make the most sense for them. And I can tell you, in my company's history, when I work with a client, I look at it in a long view, and I say to myself, like, okay, there's 2 strategies here. You could either charge them maximum price, turn them upside down, shake every penny out of their pocket, and you might get 1 or 2 orders. Or you could be confident that what you're suggesting is going to work, charge them a lot less, and let them get more items and have more of a chance in their business, and have them come back to you. And I've always taken the latter approach to promo items, and seem to have worked out so far.
Jay, that's a perfect business lesson. That goes across every business. Would you rather have your client for 3 or 4 years or 3 or 4 months? And that's exactly what you put out there. Perfect. So cool. Your background's unique. Kind of looking at you this morning. Talk about that bold move at 18 going to Vegas and what transpired from that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm probably the only person who'll ever come on your podcast that can trace where I'm sitting in this exact very moment to working at a dry cleaners. But it's true. Uh, I moved to Vegas from Philly when I was 18. I saw my sister go to school 7 miles from my house growing up. My mom and dad pop in on her pop home and do her laundry. And it just was it wasn't what I wanted for my life. My best friend's brother made the bold move to go out to Las Vegas to college. It was at the time when the basketball team was great and their notoriety of the school was up. For anybody who says sports doesn't matter to give a school attention, they're wrong. It does. It worked on me. And at 16 years old, I decided to convince my parents that my buddy, the younger brother, and myself needed to go to Vegas on a class visit. Me and him, two of us going out to stay with his brother. We went out for 10 days, and I didn't step foot on the campus in 10 days that I was there. And when I came home, I told my parents, it's the only place I'm going to apply. I have to go to Las Vegas. I have to live there. And it turns out it's the only place that I ended up applying. And, you grow up fast when you're 3,000 miles away from home. I'll never forget one time I was dating a girl. It was probably a sophomore, junior in college at the time. My first junior year, I did have two of them. I took a lot of classes when I was in school, not intentionally. And I never forget, Lake Mead was a big thing, for us to do. And there were islands inside of Lake Mead, or little like inlets. And I went with this girl and a bunch of guys and girls, couples and such, to this island on Lake Mead. And I came home after a couple of days away, and I called my mom and I said, "Did you miss me?" And she said, "Where were you?"
Oh my God.
And I realized, like, yeah. I mean, we go weeks at a time without talking to our parents, or weeks at a time without talking as you get older with your kids. Not intentionally. It just, sometimes life happens like that. I haven't talked to my oldest in probably a week, right? She's living in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I've seen my son, I've seen my daughter, I haven't seen my oldest. And she could have been away for 3 days and I wouldn't have known that. And I learned that lesson very young. And I just grew up very fast. And it was a great experience to do that.
Yeah. With that growing up, I noticed that you have some challenges you turned into opportunities, which I think is a lesson everybody needs to learn. Take your paper out. How did you do that?
Look, I mean, the first thing I did was get clean. And, that's a big part of recovery, is a big part of my life. I'm coming up on almost 30 years of,
congratulations. That's huge.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's, we talk about not sharing at the level of press and media openly, but I've anybody who knows me or knows my story knows of it. And, 30 years is a long time, but that was the first piece. And then the second piece is I just kind of always been a little bit dumb in everything that I've gone into. And I don't mean that derogatorily to myself, but I started a professional golf tournament without ever having been to a professional golf tournament. I just didn't know that you couldn't do it. I didn't know to say no. I mean, I sold a private jet before I'd ever physically seen one. Not forget ride on one. I didn't even know what private jets were growing up. And then I started with a private jet company, Marquis Jet, and sold my first one before I'd ever seen one physically in person. And, I can promise you I never screen printed or embroidered before I started ink stores. So I've always just had a natural curiosity. I think that's probably what led me out to Vegas and was always embedded in me. And I think my upbringing too fostered a little bit of it. I watched my dad was a school teacher in the inner city. He loved it for 20 years. In the last 10, 12, he was miserable. And there's something about watching your dad. I mean, I love my pop. I lost him in 23. It's just, he was just such a sweet man and a good man. And, there's something about watching your pop be miserable for as long as he was. Countdown, he'd come home the first day of school and say 179 to go. And I just vowed that I would never be in that situation in my life. Like, I would take control of my life. It's not to say I've always been happy. I've definitely not always been happy, but I've always taken control of my life. And, there really isn't anything that could happen to me outside of health to me or my family that is going to knock me down and keep me down. Plenty will knock me down, but not keep me down. And I've just, when I failed the business as well. And, one of the things that, I had small kids at the time. I think my oldest was 11 and my son was 9. My daughter was 6. And, it was like you had to make a decision. Like they're going to watch dad grind every day, or they're going to watch dad fold the towel up. And COVID was the same way. My kids were all at home with me at the time. And, it was that same thing. It's like, okay, after the first initial week where you were in shock, it's like, okay, we couldn't go back to work, and I had employees and I had, customers, and there's no, there's no events. People aren't buying swag. It's like, okay, so like, what are you going to do? And I rolled up my sleeves and I created this concept over COVID where we were able to make sales and keep our company not only alive, but thriving. And my kids were able to see it, and they watched me be creative, and they watched me be, steadfast and disciplined. I was working harder during COVID than I'd ever worked in my life. And they're in the house watching it at a young age. There's just nothing like it, Steve. And, that's my legacy. That's where I put a great deal of my value at, even past my own accomplishments. And that's been super rewarding for me.
Shout out to your dad. Without even knowing the lessons he's blessed you with, your blessing went out with your kids.
Well, that's the goal, right? The goal is that we're, we talk about like our generation is not going to have the same opportunities as your generation, or but like, no, like I want my kids to, whatever the political or economic or social climates are, like, put your blinkers on, do what you're supposed to do every day, and everything is going to work out. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, then you can tell me I'm, a liar. But I know from my history that it is going to work out, because, I've not always done the right things or been in the right places at the right time, or things have always gone wrong. But it's that determination to just buckle down and do what you're supposed to do, and not worry about what, people ask me, like, especially in the swag and the merch business, they're like, well, are you affected by the tariffs? Like, am I affected by the tariffs? Like, my company is like 0.001% of the marketplace of merch. Like, am I affected by the markets? Yeah, I get a lot of emails because of it. But like, I need to go out and find clients and service those clients well and do right by those clients. And if I do that, then all that other stuff that I can't control, that is only serving to be noise, that's only divisive, I can let that seep in and collapse me, or I can completely avoid it and just do what I'm supposed to do every day. And I just have taken the tack in my life that if I just do the right thing, do the next right thing, and just drive forward and block out the noise, that my life's going to be okay. Might not be great, might not be better, I'm not trying to assign value to it, but I know that I'll be okay and my immediate family's going to be okay. And that's good.
Interesting time when people ask you that about tariffs and things and political. And I hear it all the time in my business. And the Stoics say, controlling what you can control, and that's yourself.
That's it. There's just no other. Yeah. Like, again, and it comes back to, again, a little bit, it comes back to the recovery piece, is that I assure you that the people in the homeless shelter that I serve monthly aren't worrying about tariffs. Like, they're trying to survive and, get out of the position. Some of them are trying to get out of the position that they're in. And I'm trying to get myself connected with the fact that I've got life pretty good. And if, but not yet good enough to worry about a problem I can't control. That's for sure.
Amen to that. I love that. We're coming to the end here. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs? A lot of entrepreneurs are listening to this, new entrepreneurs. Any piece of advice you want to give them?
Yeah, I'd say just you have to go out and take charge and just do, right? This is a world of doers. This is an action oriented experience. Nobody's gonna, nobody, I mean, there might be people along the way that'll help you. But like, if you're looking, we talk about it I talk about this in sales all the time, especially in sales of swag and merch. If you worry about the client that you lost or you didn't get, you just watched 10 walk by you. So you just have to block out the noise and be very disciplined to executing against whatever it is you think is going to improve your world. That's it. And not worry about anything or anything else, competition, or, you're in a lawn business and somebody puts a lawn sign up at your neighbor's house. So what? Everybody's got a lawn. Like, just focus on you. People get caught up in new entrepreneurs and market size and the market and the competition and what other people are doing. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's all about you. So my biggest advice is just focus on what you're doing. And if you do that, and you do more of the right things than wrong things, and when nobody's looking, chances are you'll be successful.
Servant's heart right there, audience. Did a 5-minute description. And in my head, Jay, and I think you probably like this too, I lose a client or don't get a client. Next. Simple.
Well, look, I mean, there's always if you do lose a client, right, you always want to understand the reasons for why you did it so you can improve. I mean, you have to have self-inspection and reflection. But the broader point is that it's just life goes on. And, you have to roll with the punches as an entrepreneur. You just have to. And I think you clearly understand that.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's simple to do, hard to take action. Because the big old thing in this head gets in the way, and audience won't go that far, but you can see Jay gets it. Let's end with a fun question. You're a great guy, so I'm going to have fun asking this question. So I've reserved a table in a restaurant for you, table of 4. You'll sit in one of the chairs. In those 3 empty chairs, who would you invite, whether dead or alive, and what food would you order?
All right, so I'm in the middle of a weight loss journey right now, so let's just assume that's over.
Okay, let's do that.
Can I have another seat? Because if I invite my 3 kids without my wife, I'm in trouble.
Amen. Yeah, let's do one chair for all your family, which would be 4 chairs.
Yeah, it's funny. The people that I would invite are probably 3 of the people that I've been the closest to in my life. I'd invite my buddy Sklad, I'd invite my friend Andrew, and I'd invite my business partner and mentor Kenny. And I don't think, it would be an interesting conversation for sure. But as far as like historical figures and things like that, I've just kind of centered in on my family, and at 53, I think that's a decent place. I think that's a decent place to be.
Says a lot about you, Jay. I'm going to tell you right now. That's so powerful.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And so I know we're cheating. We'll call this a cheat day. What are we cheating on?
Fried chicken. No question.
We might have to bring a 6th chair and join you.
Listen, Steve, I don't have cheat days in my diet. I'm like incredibly disciplined, 1,200 calories or less. In 90 days, I'm going to have dropped. And I can tell you the 90-day point is going to be May 9th. By May 9th, I'm going to have dropped 30 pounds, 30 pounds in 90 days. And the reason I'm doing it is because my son's graduating from college this year, and I didn't want to be in the pictures in a way that I didn't feel very positive about myself. But if you haven't noticed, I can be a little all or nothing. And that's the way that I have to be in my discipline with my eating regimen. And it's fried chicken is the answer. Fried chicken.
Love it. Love it. Great. Well, after May 9th, it'd be a great day to have fried chicken. So we'll do it then.
Count it.
Podcast. What's the name of the podcast and where can they find it?
So it's JSAP Chats. It's on YouTube. And like you, I interview I interview entrepreneurs. And I take a somewhat different tact in it. What I do is I start at where were you born?
Mm.
And, we just talk about their upbringing and how they grew up. And again, I shared with you a very emotional thing that I experienced as a kid. And I try to elicit some of the things that have made them what they are, and a little less of tell me how you built your business. Because there's tons of articles about these people online about how they built what they built or their businesses. But there's very little about them as how'd you get here? How, and that's what I'm after. That's what I like to explore.
Beautiful. Now, how people connect with you, they're listening, I got to check out some swag.
Yeah, my email, really, jay@inkstores.com, JAY at ink, INKDSTORES.com. Our website, www.inkstores.com. I'm all over LinkedIn. I decided to post every day this year. So I've continued that trend, which I'm proud of. And it's all real content written by me. It's not AI. It may be AI assisted at times, pretty easy to tell.
Sure, right.
But for heaven's sake, if you can't read that I'm real, you're reading me wrong, because it's very from the heart, business, life, and just I try to put myself out there, and I'm not afraid of being out there.
Well, we were blessed to have you on today. Thank you for taking the time and sharing.
Thanks,
and being
Steve.
very humble and transparent. Audience, subscribe to my YouTube channel and to Jay's. And you know why? I'm going to tell you this again, because these links are gifts. Think about somebody's going through an obstacle and then listen to Jay and tell his story, how he's recovered 30 years and how he's successful. He's happy, flourishing family. People need to hear that when they're down. No better way than listen to 10 minutes of Jay. He's fired me up. Can you imagine you share it with somebody else? So these are absolutely gifts, whether it's my show, Jay's show, or whoever. Think of the mindset of a podcast as that gift. And if you do that, that's to me the proper way of sharing these podcasts and learning more and motivating, inspiring, educating your friends, families, employees, whoever it may be. With that being said, me and Jay want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.